All right, good morning everyone and welcome to another video. I'm just gonna do my normal market scan here. If I have the time to do it on the weekends, I usually do my market scanning on the weekends, usually on a Saturday evening or Sunday evening. I like doing it on the weekends because the markets are closed, there's no moving candles, there's no noise in the markets, and I can simply just relax and take care of that market scan. I uploaded a video last week and the sound quality was very bad. Let's hope that the quality is a little bit better in today's video. All right. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through my regular market scan here that I do every day. I'm gonna spare you the boring part, and I'm simply just gonna pause the video when I'm going through the markets, and then I'm gonna resume the recording once I do find something of interest. Just to show you guys my overall structure that I have. So I have the watch list right here. I've named it one main, and the reason why I have a one in the beginning of the name is because if I have one, it's going to be in the at the top here when I open the list of watch list. I have all the Forex pairs categorized after the main pair. Is that what it's called? The base pair? I can't even remember that. Simple stuff, I should know that. Studied that back in 2016 on Baby Pips. If you guys know about Baby Pips, amazing website, very good introductory course to Forex trading. Anyways, I got it categorized here after USD, got Euro, then we got GBP and AUD, etc. Then we have the US indices. I got the European indices right here, and then other indices, China, Japan, and Australia. I've also clumped together the UK under European indices here, not because it's part of EU, but because it's part of the overall area around the EU, I guess. And then we have commodities. We got gold, silver, and all the other good stuff here. We have the yield spread. We got futures, just because sometimes I like to look at the futures market to get the see if the volume is differentiating from the spot forex and the futures market. Then of course we have crypto. We got Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the ones I'm looking. And then we got all the different currency baskets right here, with the Dixie being my main one. And then what I do is I start at the very top, and I simply just press the space key on my keyboard to move down one pair in the list like this. And then I focus on the daily, so I trade based on the daily, right? And this is a trade that we looked at in the video last week. Came down, hit that TP. I don't think you would have been filled on this one. So I did not get filled on this one. I had to exit this one around break even. But it's a pretty interesting trade here. The overall idea worked out, but obviously it was such a powerful move here around the midnight, so probably not getting filled on that one. But let's remove this. I'm just gonna right click and select hide, and we're gonna go on with the actual scan here. So I'm starting with USD CHF, and the first thing I'm seeing here is just, you can see here that I marked out a range here, and I'm kind of looking at a potential move to the upside here. If we get a break above the range highs here, I might be interested in taking a long on USD CHF. Do I want to short if we break below range low? I don't know. It seems like USD CHF is extremely low. We've had this major bearish trend here, and even though we should be trading with the trend, I think we're seeing some type of potential accumulation here. So what I'm doing here, instead of adding this, when I do find something interesting, I add it to the green list, right? And then the green list is the list that I'm going to look at throughout the week. But instead of adding anything to the green list, I'm just going to put an alert above the highs here, just to get alerted when I do think that USD CHF might be of interest to me. I'm going to keep an alert here at the lows as well, because we're in the range, and if we hit those lows, maybe look for buy down here. But I'm not really sure about that. So let's put some alerts, and then we move on to the next one. So USD CAD is obviously very interesting. We have a few areas of interest right here. I think we can put a trend line on something like this, using the parallel channel tool in TradingView to add a sort of trend line channel. which is basically just a big wide trend line, is capture the overall area of interest. So that's the overall trend line area. This is on a weekly chart, by the way. And then I'm going to be adding a horizontal level here that is based on that high and that low, but we now see that we need to adjust it a little bit to current price action. So we're going to be using the high of that weekly wick right there. Then we're going to be using the low of that wick here, and I think that is a better representation of what we're seeing currently in the markets. So looking at the weekly here, the fact that we broke above here, then came down, bounced here, and then we're reclaiming this level, I am somewhat bullish on this on the weekly. Going down into the daily, there is of course a support level being tested here. So if we begin by putting the horizontal level on that one and then connecting it to the just to the high of this one, dragging it out, I like that. Would have used that one. I kind of like this area, right? I like that level, and price broke out, had a retest, but now we're breaking that low. So the question is, what happens around in this area? This is somewhat interesting to me, because I do feel like there is the potential of seeing higher prices, because the market structure here feels bullish, but I'm not really sure. And I need to be 100% sure before I'm going to be planning a trade. So instead of planning a trade today, I'm just going to be adding an alert down here and one above here. And now we know if no alert on USD CAD, no interest in this pair. We're not going to be adding this to the green list either, because everything that gets added to the green list, that's really interesting stuff. Pairs or setups that I might take a trade on today or at least this week. Moving on, we got Euro NCD right here. Now this one I really like. Okay, so we're looking at the weekly here. I mean, we are at price levels where we have not really had any serious reaction to this level since 2009, 2010, going into the bear market after 2008. So do we have more upside potential? I think yes, we might have more upside potential. We do have a very big weekly bearish engulfing outside bar, whatever you want to call it, but this is a very bearish candle right here. But if we look at the weekly and we add a fib here from the low of that move to the high right here, we do see that this weekly candle, it paused right on the 0.786 as a low of the Fibonacci retracement area called the reload zone, or as I call it, the reload zone. We got some interesting developments here on the daily, and we see that we are still in an uptrend with, if I'm going to be connecting these lows like this, we see that actually we do see that lows have been broken. Now the question is, do we connect it like this or do we connect it like this? Because if we connect it like with that low, then we should also connect that low up here. But if we go with the major low and we try to look at the behavior of this trend where only the deep retraces gives us the dips in the uptrend, then we should be connecting the lows like this, and we would not look at that as a major swing low or high swing low. And if this is the case, then we should get a type of recovery that we have seen here, here, and here, which is almost like a V-shaped recovery, especially these ones right here. So what I'm looking at in terms of the structure from price action to go long here on Euro NZD in the next few days this week is some type of just bullish reaction within this area. And that's all I really need to know right now. I don't really need to go into details. I don't need to add any indicators or moving averages or anything like that. I know that Euro NZD is right now in the area of interest for potential long, and I need to look at the developments of this market for potential long entries or entry triggers to come in. So I'm going to be adding that to the green list, and then we're going to move on to, I'm going to be pausing the video and then I'm going to move on, and I'll be showing you if I find anything interesting during this market scan. All right, Euro GBP is somewhat interesting. Now, the only thing I'm first of all, I'm looking for a long here, but I need to, and the very simple reason for that long is just, this type of retest right here. I like the retest right here, but then again, the market already it's already starting to move here. And then if we zoom out and we look at the weekly, I'm not, I'm not seeing this. I'm kind of seeing this, I'm not really getting any high time frame bullish feeling here. I'm getting more of a high time frame weakness type of feeling. Adding the fibs here. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Something just feels off, and when it feels off, a lot of times it is. And but there's definitely some interesting price structure here with distribution, potentially downtrend, accumulation, uptrend, huge move to the upside, retest of that level, and then uptrade form. So there's definitely a lot of interesting signs here for potential move to the upside. But I don't like the fact that we hit this level once, twice, and now the third time, potentially coming up, hitting resistance, and then moving down and breaking down. So yeah, okay, to me, this is not a high probability trade, but I will be adding levels just above here, and here I'm adding some alerts, and then we're moving on. So EuroCAD here is to me quite obvious. It's potential distribution range. We are trading very high, so this chart goes back to 1999, and we are seeing that historically EuroCAD is trading very high, and the mean reversion trader in me is thinking look for signs to go short. And we could view this current range that we're seeing right here, that range, we could view it as either we have a price stabilizing on like this level, right? So price might be stabilizing on that level as support, or what we're seeing here is a distribution range after quite a big move to the upside. You can see here, you can view that as potential accumulation range right here. Big move to the upside. Range is forming with a bullish structure, bullish characteristics within that range. So I would say that accumulation, reaccumulation with bearish characteristics, and then you move higher, and here you form a potential distribution range. So what I'm going to do here for EuroCAD is I'm going to be, first of all, adding this to the green list because I want to monitor this one. And then I'm going to be adding alerts on the lows and then on the highs for potential confirmation of a break to the downside if we break the lows. And then if we break to the upside, potential invalidation of the distribution theory and potentially going long for continuation to the upside if this is in case just a reaccumulation. All right, moving on. And here we have Euro USD. This is an actual trade that I have open right now. So this is a short trade. And the idea with this short was to sell right here. So I've recently switched from using Oanda to IC markets. And because of that, I'm using the IC markets charts, but I can switch over to Oanda to show you the drawings and the setup, because this is the one I used when I enter this trade 2 weeks ago, I believe. Now I have my stop loss up here because I do believe that we've had a higher low right here, and if we break that high, I would be happy to get stopped out on this one because the idea would then be invalidated. But the idea here is very simple. It's the same type of structure as I had here on EuroCAD. I'm watching potential distribution structure forming here on EURUSD, and I'm looking for a potential break to the downside, just like we had here. Distribution down, accumulation, maybe, well, this is obviously accumulation right here, move to the upside, distribution, potential move down here. That's just the overall high time frame structure that I'm watching. And as you know as well, I'm watching the dollar currency index to put in potential high time frame or a long-term low here. Now, is that likely looking at the fundamentals? No, not very likely looking at fundamentals, but we are not trading fundamentals here. We are trading using technical analysis. I am very interested in the fundamentals of the market, but that's not what I'm basing my trading on. So going back to EURUSD, very simple, just looking for a potential break to the downside. but again, happy to see this stopped out if we take out those highs where I've reduced the risk on this trade. Does it look like a good trade? Well, right now I'm in drawdown, but anything can happen. I'm trading based on a daily, so we got about 14 hours left until any type of confirmation on the current candle. Let's move on. Here we have GBP NCD, and I think GBP NCD is this current trend right here is quite messy. The lows and the highs are not super obvious, but what I like about GBP NCD here is that we still have, you know, these lows right here, or that trend line right here. I like how that trend line is very well respected within this trend. And then if we add a fib here, you'll see that we're now coming down into the reload zone right here. And I'm simply just going to be adding this to green list right away. And then I'm going to be adding some alerts below the 0.786 and above the 0.618. And the reason why I like this is because we're in an uptrend and we are in the area of interest, which is in the reload zone. Could potentially see a high low here. All right, GBP CHF, obviously looking at the weekly here, insanely bearish. Looking at the daily, we're now retesting an interesting level right here. You can basically just go out here and you can mark, let's just mark that low of that wick like that, and then the lows right here, and then we extend it to the right, and you see that we have price hitting resistance here. And if price continues lower here, then I think we have a potential short here. Gonna put an alert here, and then just one alert maybe down here. I'm gonna be adding this to the green list because if there's something about this, I'm not really sure what, but I want to make sure that I do some more detailed analysis on this later today or throughout the day or maybe tomorrow. Let's wait for that daily candle to close, because if the current candle closed bullish, then I'm not interested, but now we're seeing around the top, which I like. So we're going to be adding that to the green list, and then we'll be moving on. All right, now we're now looking at AUD NCD, and we can safely say that within the period from 2013 till today, we're trading high. We're trading higher than what we've done during this time period. So again, the mean reversal trader in me thinking, you know, short range high down to the middle of the range, which is if we add a range here, let's flip to the range template, you'll see that I'm looking at something like this, right? Where the general idea I have when looking at this chart is for a potential move to the downside. So what I want to see up here on a daily is a distribution range and a breakup structure. Now, what we're getting right now is a break and retest. So we're getting a break and retest of a horizontal level right here, which looks very good. It's alignment with range highs. It's also, it looks like in the reload zone as well. So now this is more interesting as a long, but then if we go long here and then price comes up like this, then I might be interested in getting short, especially if we break that one. So this is a very interesting setup where I am both interested in going long, but if that long setup gets invalidated, I would be interested in going short down to these levels right here. If you're wondering why the candles look weird, it's because I'm trading on IC markets with it's an ECN broker, which is different from a CFD broker. Not going to go into details on that, but just to make sure you understand why there's a bit of a difference between the candle structures and everything, because ECN traders, like brokers like IC markets, they go directly to market. There's no fake liquidity, you know, like with the most CFD brokers. Anyway, this is interesting. I'm going to be adding an alert here above that level. I want to be alerted if price goes above. I want to be alerted if price goes below. This is also a very good area. So if the daily candle closes like this, maybe I'll just go long. But we're going to be adding that to green list and we'll be moving on. Right, so this is CAD CHF. Now I'm looking for potential longs here, which is, you know, not what you might want to be doing because you would be trading against the trend. But I do like this double bottom right here coming up to this level. And then if we of course break above this general area right here, that looks like a potential low within this overall structure. But I'm not sure about this. I have to wait. So I'm going to put an alert right here. I have to wait for price to actually get above this level before I can start thinking about what type of entry trigger I want to see. So in this phase of my market scanning, it's all about going through the markets and looking for areas of interest. And there's no need for me to really go into details of the analysis of that chart when you're just in the area of interest. I need to see more interest, and then when I do see that interest, I'll be adding some indicators and moving averages, the 20 to 50 EMA. I'll be adding the MACD, the RSI, things like that to look for divergences. Actually, let's do that right now. See if we can find anything. Yeah, I mean that low is actually higher than that one, so there's not really any divergence here. Anyway, whatever. I'm not supposed to look at the indicators at this stage anyway. Let's move on. All right, we got USD JPY right here, and the USD JPY is we can show you that one right here. This is an old idea that I had. Oh my God, you know, it hit that. This is could have been one of the best trades this year, but unfortunately I closed it way too early. But as you can see here on this USD JPY chart right here, we see a market that is trading closer to the range highs of this potential range. And we've also seen a lot of dollar strength coming in, and obviously yen weakness would be perhaps see a shift in that structure going forward. I'm not sure about the yen weakness, but I do see possibilities of seeing dollar weakness, and that might cause a move lower on USD JPY, right? Again, we're not trading based on fundamentals, but it's always interesting to think about the fundamentals, because fundamentals is the cause of a move and technicals is the effect of the move, or the effect of the cause, you know, cause and effect. It's interesting to know that relationship, and it might help you guide your decisions in trading. But technicals for me, price is always king, and I follow price. Now, what is price telling us? Well, price is telling us that we're getting local weakness in an overall strong bullish trend. Where do we have good levels for potential longs? Well, I would be looking at perhaps something like this. And I think this is the low where we want to put the fib to this high. So the area of interest is sitting a little bit lower than current prices. So if USD JPY comes down into this level, I might be interested in potential longs. And if we break lower, potential shorts. But I have my alert right here. I'll be adding that to the green list, and then we'll be moving on. And now we are finally at the indices, and we're looking at the S&P 500. Usually what I do here is I end the market scan with looking at the S&P 500 and Bitcoin. And then, of course, gold. I have a trade open on gold. So that's you. And sometimes I also start with looking at the S&P 500 and Bitcoin, because I feel like that gives a good idea. Those two markets give a good idea of retail sentiment and overall sentiment in the market. We can look at the daily right now on the S&P 500. We do see that we are starting to form what I might consider being a range, actually. So we have the range lows and the range highs. It looks like we have a major pause to the overall trend right here. Let's say, we've been in bull market for quite some time right now, and we had a major V-shaped recovery here in April after the Trump tariffs, and it's been on a straight line to the upside almost since April, with some minor dips. Now this dip is, I believe, one of the biggest in this market right here, and now we're starting. We have two major lows, and we have a general high area somewhere up in this region, and I do believe we have somewhat of a range forming right here, and we are currently then, of course, testing the range highs. And I mean, the S&P 400 did recover quite nicely, but the question is this just not a dead cat bounce, but it's are we going to see that final push to the upside to really push us close to the 7K and higher? Not really sure. The technicals are not really super clear here. I don't really have a good read on this. I do feel like what I'm seeing here from price action, the S&P 500, is quite reflective of what we have in the fundamentals. It's quite a lot of indecisive price action, indecisive economic factors as well. Let's just move on. Let's just move to, I'm gonna add the green list of course, but let's just move on to gold, which is a I have a trade open on gold right here, right now, running quite nicely. I really like this. I think it's time to adjust my stop loss on this one. I am actually going to be doing that right now. Let me pause the video and fix that. All right, so I've just adjusted my stop loss on gold. My stop loss is now sitting at 4,012.83, and not much to say about this one. I'm watching this as a potential symmetrical triangle. We got the breakout. I've also seen some, I saw a post on Twitter from TechChart. Can't remember his name. He's a CMT, very well respected in the industry and one of the best classical chartists out there. And he looked at gold and he said that because of the time spent within this triangle, he says that it's not really a triangle, it's invalidated, and therefore the measured move might not be correct. But I'm not really sure why. I need to kind of look into that. It's a very interesting statement, but I'm not really sure where that statement comes from, where the source on that is. But I like it. I like it, and it looks like it's confirming. So I'm going to keep that trade open. Let's move on. Let's go and look at Bitcoin. Here's Bitcoin. We see some major weakness here today. It seems like every time the S&P 500 makes a move to the upside, Bitcoin kind of makes a small move to the upside. Every time the S&P 500 makes a small move to the downside, the Bitcoin market makes a strong move to the downside. So the upside moves on risk assets are not pushing Bitcoin as high as it should, but the downside moves are pushing prices very far down, which tells me that there's a lot of fear in the markets right now for Bitcoin. People are really looking for a reason to get out of the market, it seems, and this to me looks very, very bearish. Now, the thing I like about this, if you are bullish on Bitcoin here, if you think this is a long-term low, then you should not be very scared of a dip like this unless you come down and perhaps go below the reload zone right here. So if you go below 83,000, yeah, time to question that narrative. But really, it's not a bad area. It's very often you get moves like this. And remember, we had the S&P 400 actually moving lower, which, you know, adds to the bearishness of Bitcoin here. So I don't think this looks too bad. Yeah, it's bearish. There's sellers definitely dominating the markets, but it's not looking too bad. I mean, I like the area. Look at the 4 hour here. Oh shit. Okay, it looks bad. But I mean, up move, down into reload zone, maybe form something like this. I'm not too bearish on this. I'm staying calm. All right, guys, that's a full market breakdown. We had about a 30 minutes video here. It took me about 45 minutes to do the whole market scan. How many pairs do I have in this list? I have, I believe, 89 pairs. So I do this once every week. About 1 hour every week is when I scan the markets and I add alerts. Forgot to add alerts on Bitcoin here. We're going to be adding some alerts here. So that's what I do. About 30 to 60 minutes once a week to scan the markets, and then I add alerts, add it to the green list, and that's most of the trading I do on a weekly basis. Then what I do throughout the week is just executing on the ideas that I planned here in this video. Thank you for watching. It really does mean a lot because you spent your precious time looking at my videos, and I absolutely 100% appreciate your time. We all know that time is money. Time is something we are never going to get back, and I hope that you spent this time looking at this video and gaining more knowledge and experience or whatever. Anyway, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, and thank you for watching.